often work with marketing teams internally with our clients. And usually it's the bigger clients, larger companies. And it's usually a good thing to have an internal marketing team because, first of all, it means that the client is investing in marketing across the board, and you will have the support you need from them internally to get you the assets. Maybe they have really good brand positioning in the marketplace, industry, like know how to be able to explain how this client is different than their competitors. And they're really investing in an overall promotional strategy. So sometimes they have an internal PR team as well. And we've usually found that the internal PR team is big picture thinking, strategy, and facilitating sample sends and tracking, and then managing the PR firm. But the PR firm is the one doing all the outreach, working down a strategy that they are then reaching out to the media with. So sometimes the PR team internally is also the marketing department. Like there'll be marketing and PR, or it'll be a marketing department and there will be one person. And as their PR role, it is to collaborate with and work with the PR agency on the outside. So sometimes there can be friction, and that doesn't help anybody. Our goal is always to make the internal team feel like we are besties, and we love working with them, and they see us as an extension of their team, and we have really great collaborative support, but also a nice relationship. It's our job to kind of make them feel comfortable and feel like we are all working together in our various roles towards a common goal. And they could either love working with us and we make it effortless and easy, or sometimes they just see you as a nuisance and an annoyance, and maybe they don't understand why you're needed, or they're working in like a silo and they don't know why you need to be involved at all. And that's really a challenge, right? So what we want to do is align our efforts so that there's like a collaborative approach, and we're communicating, and we're all on the same team, we're all working for the same goals. So I have 3 quick ways to think about working successfully with a company's marketing team, and then kind of breaking down who's responsible for what, or how to structure that relationship in a way where everybody's getting what they need and everybody's doing what they're supposed to, and it's very clear, so that everybody knows, this is my role, that's your role, and we're all here to help each other. Okay. Number one, when you start working with a client that has an internal marketing team, proactively reach out to host a kickoff call. Don't wait for them, make it very friendly, but reach out to invite them to a kickoff call. And it's important because you really need to understand their overall short-term and long-term goals, and any promotional efforts that they're planning, like any launches on the horizon, and when, any kind of sales or collaborations, and how they are hoping to promote them. So what are they working on that you can take and amplify with PR, or leverage their assets with PR, or to support your PR efforts? Do you have a long enough runway? Is this reasonable? Do they expect you to launch a product that's going to be out in a month and a half and you just came on board? You have to tell them, what is reasonable and what to expect and when, so that's part of it. It's getting on this call, getting aligned with the initiatives they have, short and long-term goals, what are their promotional efforts, and really how they also see you supporting their efforts. Or you can share with them what's realistic and reasonable within a time frame. Sometimes we've gotten on, and we know we're brought in for a launch, and we'll get on with the marketing team and we'll kind of work backwards with the timeline, and we'll say, you know what, there's not enough time. And we would love for you to push off the launch for 2 weeks, because that will get us the runway necessary to convert the pitches, to give a date where all of the media will be talking about this launch at the same time, at the right time when you are ready to launch. Because if you get press and it comes out 2 weeks after the launch happens, it'll kind of fall flat on its face and feel like a dud. Like, we want momentum and we want interest. So let's pause. And we've convinced clients to hold off on launches so that we can align our efforts and make sure that the timeline matches up. So be proactive about it. You can create an agenda. You can come at them with questions that will show them that you're looking to enhance their efforts and support what they're doing. Number two, this is a shared calendar. And it's like a layered approach. So you'll see that there's the holidays and we kind of back into short and long leads. So it's in the calendar at the time you need to be thinking about it for those holidays that are just always there. Plus, we layer in like the timely, relevant seasonal approaches that we're going to take, and we layer in their launches and who are pitching and when. And it's this spreadsheet we have as a calendar that can serve as your team's internal marketing calendar. You copy it. Now it's a shared Google Calendar. Everyone can have edit access. And you're layering in all of the initiatives and then backing into the timing where the marketing team isn't working on your timeline. They're not working on the media's timeline. They're working on the client's launch timeline, and when customers are available to purchase. So you need to kind of back into it and start to look at the timing and make sure that you have the support and the assets you need when you're going to need them. It's a way to collect all of the efforts and initiatives that both sides are doing so that everybody has visibility to what is happening, and it'll let you see what's going on with their social, with their email marketing. And the core of the strategy starts with that marketing team's plan, and then you plan your PR efforts around that. We want to know what the marketing team is working on and when, and adapt it for like a normal PR timeline. And if you don't have what you need in that time frame where you're going to need it, you can talk to the team and find out when you're going to have access to their resources that are going to make your effort successful, and then maybe change the launch date or maybe change their promotion of it so that it's all synced up, so that their promotional efforts are aligning with when the media is talking about it. And you kind of back into the timing and you're like, even in the best case scenario, media would come out 2 weeks after or a month after your launch actually happens, just based on where we are now and what we have access to. So maybe we push it and now everything is synced up. You have that insight to share with your clients and kind of push back a little bit if you want to show them the collective benefit of having everything launch at the same time. The other thing that is really helpful is that if a date changes, it will be consistently updated and you won't miss out on any kind of big shifts in the schedule. Like maybe somebody will notify you and say, I went in the master calendar and we moved back our launch 3 weeks. So you can update your efforts around that change. But it's all working off the same shared calendar, and there's just really good visibility for everyone to see what everyone else is doing. And you need to have this runway for you to be successful. You need the assets on time. So you're going to need access to product samples, graphics, copy, and details about their promotions or their new product launches. You want to have their launch plans, any key dates. All of this has to be workable for your success to have this proper runway, and don't be afraid to push back and say, what, given this timeline, we don't have enough runway, or we don't have the assets to be successful in this time frame. So that's one way to get aligned. You get your kickoff call, you talk about the initiatives, send over a calendar. Maybe you're making notes on the call and you have certain key dates and you plug them in, and then you ask them to confirm and add anything else that you need to know. And then you're going in and layering on the holidays. You're going to be working on the timely relevant angles that you're going to pitch, like what product from the core collection or what new product launch are you going to align with that summer pitching season, or what key ingredient is something that you know is really relevant during spring. Like, let's say one ingredient is roses in a beauty product or skincare, and you're going to be pitching rose hips, rose oil, whatever, for spring because it's very floral and you can sink into that a bit, and that's a timely relevant pitch. So then at least they see, oh, that's cool. They're going to be pitching like that ingredient here. So maybe we do a marketing campaign around that, like a little email campaign and a couple, social media posts, or we call out that ingredient. So it's all aligned. They can kind of see what you're doing too. And then have a standing monthly call with that team. That can be your monthly call. It doesn't have to be an additional, but it could be like a PR call aligned with the marketing team to discuss any upcoming launches or campaigns. Closer to the launch, maybe you want to consider doing it more frequently, like bi-weekly, so that everyone is aligned and that media outreach will really sync up, coincide with what the marketing team is doing and what their objectives are. So you really stay on track, because sometimes there will be a delay in the launch and you won't know about it. And if the call's in a month because you just had one, then you won't have that insight into pausing the efforts and all of that that's needed to kind of pump the brakes on something. So it's important to have that regular check-in, and as you get closer, maybe a little bit more frequently. But there's a lot of stuff that we tackle in like 20 minutes on a marketing call that like would have taken days over email to be back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And now we're just like, line item, here's the agenda, let's talk about this, what's the status, link out to a document, everybody on the same team, okay, great, let's go. And it's settled, and everybody knows, they have their marching orders, they know exactly what's going on, what the other team is doing, and set out an agenda. And you can have it be a running document that is part of the calendar invite. So everybody has, we use a grid, so we'll use like a Google Sheet, and we'll give them a place to write their questions or concerns. Sometimes we'll ask questions in it and they'll link out to something specifically in that agenda, so we have access to it even before the call because they saw the question and they gave us the resource we asked for. Then it's all in one place. But having that agenda guides the conversation, and usually you can bang them out in 20 minutes. And then it's just easy because you've also tackled any concerns that the marketing team may have about what you're actually doing, what your timeline looks like, and any kind of like brewing concerns about that aligning with what they're doing. You can nip it in the bud because you're having a conversation and you're reassuring them, oh yeah, we're on track. We have everything we need. We've already started our media list building and our launch pitch, and we're going to send it out on this day because we expect to get the most opens, and it gives us enough timeline for follow-up in advance. Really letting them know like there's some strategy behind what we're doing here. It's not just like spray and pray, right? And when you have the support of a marketing team, you have the resources to be really awesome at your job. And so now let's just kind of touch on who is responsible for what when it comes to PR and marketing. And this is not the be all end all. This is a framework that you can use to guide your approach. They may take other responsibilities, or they may let you know that you need to take the lead on certain things that maybe are traditionally their roles. But typically, the client's marketing team is the one that comes up with all of the things that you're going to leverage. So, brand positioning, a tagline, who is their ideal customer avatar, or ICA, you maybe have heard of, any kind of copy on the brand. Some of our clients have things that they can't say. They need to tell us that. You can't say X. You can't make this claim. The way around it is we say this, and that is legally acceptable, but we need to know that. What can we say? What can't we say? The marketing team should be helping to deliver those things and get them to you. And when a company doesn't have all of that, it's going to make your job really hard. So it's actually really helpful when there is a marketing team supporting you, because you are going to get the support internally, the resources you need, and the assets all gathered or created based on what you're asking them for, because they're invested in your success and they can use the full force of that marketing team to support your efforts. So, in order to really work well together, use those meetings to get on the same page, get a Google Drive or a Dropbox that's a shared folder or files that will make everything more convenient, and then everyone has access to it and it's perfectly organized. It's so simple to do, but it just kicks off in a way where everybody feels really buttoned up and you all are working off the same assets in the same place. So if something changes, it's already there. If they update something in that drive, then you have it too. So you can set that up to make everything more convenient. You obviously are going to have a shared calendar. And if something changes there, somebody can call it to your attention and you can go in and adjust your dates accordingly. So that's where you're going to get all of those pieces synced up so everybody's on the same page. And then in terms of communicating your efforts to them or with them, let them know what activities you're working on. Like, what are your pitch angles? What assets are you leveraging right now? What timely seasonal angles? So it's not always about product launches. It's about leveraging the company's story, their core collection. If it's something with ingredients, like certain key ingredients, something that's like holiday specific, leveraging all of that so that you always have creative ways to pitch the brand, timely, relevant, targeted angles. And you can let them know what you're working on. And maybe they'll say, oh, that's really clever. Actually, this product aligns really well with that because of XYZ. And now they're giving you information you didn't even have that will make that effort better. So it's always helpful to make sure the marketing team knows, what activities you're working on and what angles you're pitching. And then give the marketing team any of your key PR dates for things like press releases, and then give them kind of the timeline of when those are going to hit, any upcoming features so they can kind of plan, this is coming out. We want to promote that on our social. We want to inform our newsletter about it. It would be really helpful if we drove an audience to that article when it hits, because they'll track all that and see like, oh, we got a ton of people coming from this brand's own audience. Like, let's feature them all the time because they're going to drive traffic. This is pretty cool. But you want everything to align, and you want to ensure that there is marketing support to maximize, leverage, make the most of any of that traffic and attention that you're generating through your PR efforts. So that's how we approach working with an internal marketing team. We make them our besties. We make them see that we are there to make them look good. Anytime anything happens that involves any kind of support from marketing whatsoever, I'm the first one to share that win and point to the marketing team for making it happen. To say, we never would have landed this press feature if it weren't for the marketing team giving us what we needed in a timely manner to align with the launch, and they nailed it. And look at the result of that. We want them to love us. We try to endear ourselves, genuinely, but making sure that they know we've got your back and we're here to make your job better. So that's how we play nice and work with a marketing team.